and welcome along to the Invincible podcast, brought to you today by NordVPN. I've got Lee in the building. No Julian today. He's away in Amsterdam, and I don't think I'm going to get into the reasons why he's in Amsterdam, but you can probably try and figure it out. No. He's away in Amsterdam at the moment. So no Julian here today, but Lee is in the building. You good, Lee?
I'm very good, like, and I'm looking forward to a nice weekend off. No stress of the Arsenal.
I wanted games, man. I wanted games, you know what I mean? Like, but, we're getting stuck into that in a minute. But I just want to tell you about our friends at NordVPN who are giving AFTV viewers an exclusive offer of 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. Just go to nordvpn.com/AFTV. Now, most VPN providers offer an online threat protection feature, but NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro offers advanced digital protection from malware and online threats by scanning files whilst they're downloading and warns you about potentially dangerous websites. This is what Mikel Arteta needs to be using this season to keep his tactics safe and sound around all these other managers. You don't want him nicking it, does he? It's quick and easy to enable, and you can use it on up to 6 different devices at once. Head over to nordvpn.com/AFTV or click the link in the description below to get 4 extra months of NordVPN with a brilliant 2-year plan. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you to our friends at NordVPN for powering this video, and a really, really good feature that we all use on the regular, especially when we're traveling. And talking of that, you said a nice little break. For me, the season's just started. We've only had 3 games. I don't want a break. I would have took a break like 6 games in. It's ridiculous, this international break coming after 3 games.
Yeah, you might say that now, but I'm looking forward to it because the next 2 weekends are going to be hell.
Yeah, but I would have rather have gone straight into those.
Yeah, straight into them, and then
well, you got a break now, then you got to go into those. I would have just rather just go straight in.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, I just want to have a break before the storm.
There are 2 really tough games coming up.
3.
What, you including the Champions League game?
On a Thursday night as well. Listen, how I see it, is that we're away to Tottenham, which is our 2 toughest away ties for the whole season. I know you could put in Liverpool, but Spurs for obvious reasons. Then we go to Italy on a Thursday night. You know what I mean? Which is ridiculous, right? And then we play Man City. While that is happening, Manchester City are having all of their 3 games at home. They play on the Wednesday at home. They haven't got to travel. You know what I mean? So we've got to travel to Italy, then we've got to come back, then we've got to travel to Manchester. They'll be sitting on with 3 home games on the spin. We've got 3 away games. It's a tough week.
Yeah.
So, enjoy your weekend. That's what I say.
Well, it'll be a tough week. Listen, we'll go a bit over those a little bit later, but I want to find out from you. You're having a little break at the moment. I'm having a little break. I don't know if you feel the same way, right? I'm still angry. I'm still angry about that refereeing decision. I've seen so many people that I've been speaking to since, this week has been on, you're going around, you're meeting a lot of people, and everybody's still saying the same thing. How did Declan Rice get a second yellow for that and that red card? Absolutely ridiculous decision. Yesterday, I was at a function, big up to the guys from Origin. I was at their function at the Royal Institution, and there was a Brighton fan there. And he goes, Roy, ridiculous. He said, because he said he was sat with the Arsenal fans, so he goes, he had to keep quiet. But he said he thought that Veltman was getting sent off first. He said he was shocked when he saw Declan Rice. He said that when he saw the referee hold up a yellow card, then a red, he thought to himself, yeah, but when has Veltman didn't have a yellow card before, so how's he giving him? He was convinced that Veltman was getting a red. Then have you seen that video where they got that Dermot Gallagher who,
embarrassed himself,
right? He's in the studio now. He was backing Kavanagh before, saying, "Oh no, well, he had no alternative." Blah blah. Then they go and find a video from a couple of seasons ago when Henry Lansbury, when he was playing at Luton, done the exact same thing, right? And the same Dermot Gallagher, when talking about that incident, go and watch it. We can't, obviously, for, it's a copyrighted bit of content, we can't show it here. But But I urge you, go on Twitter and that, go and watch it. It's the same. And the same referee who was backing Kavanagh, when it was that incident, said, oh, well, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he's, you know, I mean, he's giving the referee no choice. He's taking him out. He's got to get a red card. Because Lansbury only got a yellow card for it, by the way. He goes, oh, he should have got a straight red for that. It's violent conduct.
Says it all, doesn't it? It says it all.
Honestly, I'm starting to really get Thai vibes when it comes to these referees.
Listen, with these referees and everything like that, and look, we're not going to say there's a conspiracy, but the letter of the law it keeps going. Do you remember the one at Crystal Palace when Saka gets kicked in the back, when he gets kicked up in the air? Not even a booking, like, you know. And I go back to what some of the pundits that are sticking out. He was given no choice. He was given no choice but to send him off. If that's the case, right, if you didn't want to send him off, there's so many things you could have done to say, I'm not sending you off for that. One, the ball was moving. Two, you could actually say, well, hold on, no, you didn't take the free kick from the right place, so you've got to take it back. There were so many things. If he wanted to get out of not doing that, he could. But he didn't want to. Let's get the facts right. He didn't want to. When he says, it's the letter of the law, well, he didn't ref that game by the letter of the law, no. Because if he did, he would have booked the left back for the pull on Saka in the first minute. If you haven't seen, you know, yep. It's a mandatory. It is a mandatory booking.
He used common sense there. He's like, it's the start of the game. I don't want to be booking everything.
Not letter of the law, though, Robbie, is it?
Exactly.
It's not the letter. He's not refereeing that by the letter of the law.
Exactly.
He's using his common sense. You know what I mean? Like there was the elbow, then on Saka again.
Yep.
I get that one. And then that left back does another bad foul, and he's instead of going, this is it, I can do it here. No, I'll blow my whistle for half time, and so I can
get out of it.
So he does that, and then when it comes to that incident, he didn't. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that's annoyed me more than anything else about it.
Got a couple more for you from that game. I'm doing a little deep dive and I'm checking it was right. From that game, letter of the law, yeah? Right? The João Pedro one, that's the obvious one, right? He kicks the ball away down the touchline in front of everybody. Arteta's there going like that. He's telling Arteta to be quiet, right? Didn't give him a yellow card, didn't give him booking, nothing. Absolutely nothing. When João Pedro whacks the ball, it's obvious what he's doing. Nothing, right? There was also Danny Welbeck, right?
Yeah, heard it.
Yeah. Waving an imaginary card as well.
And telling him.
According to the letter of the law, that's a booking.
Yeah.
Under the new rules and all that, letter of the law weren't deployed in there. That no yellow card offence for that. Right? So, ridiculous. And then the other thing is as well, right? I saw this as well, right? Where there were 8 separate incidents. If they're saying this is a new thing that they brought in, because I know that's what they're trying to... we told everybody at the start of the season that we're going to be clamping down on this. There were 8 separate incidents in last weekend's games that involved players delaying a quick kickoff and the restart, right? None of these were punished, right? One involved Kulusevski in the game at Newcastle, Mark Gay for Crystal Palace in the game against Chelsea, Cucurella in the same game, Pedro Porro also in the same game at Newcastle, Diogo Dalot in the Man United Liverpool game, Joe Linton as well in the game with Tottenham, Bruno Guimaraes in that game as well, and Cole Palmer as well in the all 8 of them, right? All those are 8 separate incidents where the kickoff were delayed. The same sort of similar thing like what Rice did. Not one of them was punished by a yellow card. So why this guy, when he knows the guy's already on a yellow and he knows what it's going to cause, decides to pick out Rice? When you factor in the Pedro thing, when you factor in the Danny Welbeck imaginary card, which even from last season they were giving automatic cards for, when you factor in those 8 incidents that have gone unpunished, and you're being told it's the letter of the law, you then start to have to think, what's going on here? Is there some sort of... Listen, I'm not saying it is, but you can see why people do start to say, you know what I mean, this is like an anti-Arsenal thing. What's going on? How comes there's a rule for one and a rule for other, right? And then we all know how these things end up. They start off with these little initiatives that just suddenly disappear. They never happen again. Like the one that happened with Martinelli that time, when he got 2 yellows. You remember that time at Wolves?
Yeah,
right?
I do remember it.
We've never seen that before, and we've never seen it since.
Oliver was refereeing that game. If you remember rightly, last season against Man City, Kovacic, 2 bookables, one against Declan Rice at the end. Guaranteed, it's a stone wall yellow card. Doesn't, oh no, he's gone, no, sorry, like. But at Wolves, he's running over and giving 2 yellow cards to Martinelli. Couldn't wait to do it, like, And there are little incidents like that, you start thinking about it. Like, I remember a few years ago, and I know bringing up things and all that, I've only ever seen it once when Granit Xhaka deliberately brought down a player. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sent off for it, like. You know what I mean? I've never seen anybody else ever sent off for that since. Tomiyasu last season, like,
Yeah.
Sent off, like, never seen it again since.
I see Joe Linton, the same manager, Kavanagh. Last week, Joe Linton, right, clotheslined the Bournemouth goalkeeper, right in front of him. Not even a yellow card. Nothing.
Do you remember Rodri got done, didn't he, for just grabbing hold of a little neck like that, like, you know what I mean? Sent off, 3-game ban. They lost all 3 games last season, Man City. I see, was it Kai Havertz getting, grabbed by the throat, like, that's all right. That's all right. You know what I mean? And we're not just saying it's Arsenal. I'm just saying the other times
I've
and all
said
that.
to you, Lee, there was 8 separate incidents of the ball being delayed. You can see why people start to come out with conspiracy theory. I don't personally believe it's some sort of conspiracy against Arsenal. I just think it's just poor refereeing from a referee that wanted to get involved in the game and just, I don't know what he was doing, right? He refereed that game terribly last week. Terribly.
I don't even want to see him at the Emirates again.
And I'm still angry about it because, I know people will say, that Brighton guy was saying to me yesterday, but Robbie, it evens itself out. I said, but how many points did we lose the league by last season? 2. How many points did we drop in that game? 2.
And there was another incident, get yourself on Twitter, West Ham versus Arsenal, when Declan Rice playing for West Ham does exactly the same thing. Kicks the ball away right in front of the same referee. And what's he do? Nothing. Funny that, like, And listen, the one with Joe Linton, the one with Joe Linton, you know what I mean? He should have been off, right?
Yeah.
And he's the one that makes the defence splitting ball for Newcastle to go on and win that game. Now, of course, we're going to say, that's all right because it's against Spurs, but it's not. It's, you know what I mean? Like, the referees are refereeing these games completely different. And I get all right, you can't use common sense, but if you're even what's his name? Howard Webb turned around and said after the game, the 2 bookings against Man City last season, we don't want to spoil the game. We were trying to keep players. So you said that, right? And now that's happened, which is petty, really. Why are you not trying to keep him on the pitch? Like, you can. I've got no choice and all that. Like, he loved that moment. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to ever see him down at the Emirates again.
Yeah, but you will.
Yeah, I know. But I tell you what, if I get his registration, I'm going to let his tyres down.
You can't say that.
I can, and I have. I won't slash him, just let him down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, see how he likes it.
I get the feeling he'd be leaving in a black towel. In Mercedes.
You know what I mean? Absolutely awful refereeing.
Dreadful. Dreadful refereeing.
Born in Manchester, apparently.
Well,
that's what I say, like, And he had a light blue top on. I don't know if there's anything. I'm not suggesting anything, but it's funny out, like, you know what I mean?
But it's made
apparently, he's got free tickets on 2 separate nights for Oasis. All I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying, like,
Honestly, like, we have to get over it because, we got to move on. But what it does do, it means that Declan Rice is not available for that game against Tottenham. And like you said, you suggested it right at the start of the show, 2 really tough games. Well, 3 if you factor in. Atalanta are a good side. Remember, they won the Europa League. So they're no mugs.
Decent.
They beat Liverpool last year as well. That's a tough game. We've got to go away there. We've got Tottenham away. them Atalanta, then Manchester City away. Like you said, 2 of the hardest away games in the Premier League for an Arsenal player and fan. Even though we didn't lose to those 2 teams last year. But how are you feeling ahead of those games? Rice is out, Marino's out. You know what I mean? We found out this week that, you know, the initial could be out for a couple of weeks, turned into the usual. He's out for probably a couple of months. Which, you know, has led to a lot of complaints of the squad being short. You know, I mean, actually, before I even touch on those games again, the transfer window has closed. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I can't remember what you gave it.
I gave it a 7.
Oh, you gave it a 7?
6.5, really. But
yeah, well, how comes everyone's ripping into me then, and they've left you alone?
Because I say, like, you know, that it weren't it was an okay window.
They give it 7, it should be lower than that.
Well, I'll give it a 6 then, like that. I mean, but like, I do think that we've improved the squad quality-wise. But quantity, I think we're lacking 2 players. I think we should have brought in another couple of players. My reasoning for that is purely and simply because, you know, the farce, and when it is like of the Champions League now, is it's all about money. It's 4 more games.
And there's a League Cup game in there as well.
There's a League Cup game in there. That's 2 more games you've got to travel. 2 more times you've got to ask fans to spend money. 2 more times that it's costing the home fans to go and get tickets for the games and everything like that. Costing us more and more money to go and watch Arsenal, and there you are not providing the significant squad for that.
Listen, and I know you. I mean, people have been cussing me, Robbie. You working for the club now?
Because many people have been saying,
"You work for the club, right?" It makes me laugh, you know, because they used to be like, "Robbie, you're too negative." Now I'm being too positive. I'm being real when I say I wanted a striker at Arsenal. I wanted Arsenal to sign a striker. But you know what? They didn't sign a striker. There's, you know. Now, I know Turkish will be on here. Go and get Isak. Go and get it. When we're talking about transfers, we have to be realistic. Alexander Isak was not available for sale at any price. The Newcastle owners are the richest owners in the world. They don't have to sell him to cover off any financial fair play or anything. They sorted that. They're not for sale. So when Turkey says just go up there and get him, you can't just go up there and get him. You can't. It's impossible. They're not selling him. Right? So that's out. Then we look at a couple of the other players that are strikers that were available. Victor Osimhen. Chelsea did not do the deal for Victor Osimhen because they said the wages that he's demanding are ridiculously high and not paying it. As a matter of fact, no club in Europe went in to sign Victor Osimhen. He's gone now to Galatasaray on loan, where they're paying only a small section of his wages and Napoli are having to pay the rest of it, right? So he weren't available. And we couldn't have got him on loan, by the way, because the only reason he was able to go to Turkey is because their window closes after everybody else. Ivan Toney. No team in the Premier League were willing to pay the wages, which we now find out a man's getting 400 grand a week, and good luck to him, right? He's earning a massive payday, right? I think they said if he was to get the equivalent of that in this country, he'd be on 800 grand a week, because he's getting that tax-free over in there, right? No club could match those wages, right? He wanted up towards that. Probably didn't want fully that. He had stalled his move, right, to find out if somebody could come closer to that, but nobody got close to that. And do you think, as an Arsenal fan, that he's, you know, I'm not saying in Saudi, it's a completely different market. In this market, the Ivan Toney is worth that sort of wages? If we paid that, do you think that Arsenal fans would have been happy?
I wouldn't bother me what sort of wages that he was on, but it would bother the players.
And it will bother the players, and it will bother. Teams have to balance their books. We know now with PSR and financial fair play, everybody would say go all in. If it don't work now, we're stuck with that. Then we can't go and get another striker or another player later on. That's why you see Chelsea at the moment having to sell all their English talent because of this bad business, what they've done in players like Mudryk and people like that, where now they're having to try and balance their book because of the rules. As things have changed now, you've got to take that into account. Then I look at Victor Gyökeres, yeah? Victor Gyökeres came out and said, he's with the Swedish national team at the moment, right? He's obviously wanted to move. He's dreaming of a big move, right, to the Premier League, right? But he said, basically, that he's been completely priced out of the market by the ridiculous release clause that Sporting had on him. And he goes, basically, they didn't want him to leave, so they weren't breaking off of it at all. That's why he's still at Sporting. That's why Arsenal or no other team in the whole of Europe went for Victor Gyökeres, despite his goal-scoring record last year, scoring 43 goals. He said, basically, they want 100 million euros release clause. They were not willing to break. And he said, listen, he wasn't over moaning about it because he said, listen, I'm at Sporting. I'm going to do, he goes, and maybe, hopefully, he actually said, let's see what happens in January. That's what he said. But he said, basically, with that ridiculous transfer fee, clubs inquired, but they all just said, nah. Way too much. So people have to take these things into account. Now, I'm going to come back to you in a sec, Lee. Signed Calafiori, good signing. I think everyone who's seen him play so far, everyone said, from what we've seen so far. Remember, it's too early to judge anyway, but from what we've seen so far, looks good. Marino, signed him, won the Euros, was a significant player, and it looks good, even though now he's out with a... They weren't to know that, were they?
No, you can't blame the club for that.
And then, finally, the signing for me, this is my personal opinion, but then I have to say, everybody I've spoken to as an Arsenal fan, I've only found one guy that was like, nah. Everybody else is like, I think that's a good signing. Raheem Sterling. We're paying £100,000 a week for his wages. It's a 1-year loan, so if it doesn't work, we can send him back. Chelsea are paying the other 250 grand. He's a very experienced player. He's a winner. We know what he can do. And under Mikel Arteta, I think he's going to be a good player. He covers Saka. So and then the squad that we've got at the moment may be slightly light, slightly. But I do look on it and I think to myself, what do we want? A big squad of players like last year, where a lot of them players, let's be real, they weren't even playing. Right? So you can have a big squad of players, but they don't play. Or you can have a smaller squad where you know that those players are going to play. They're going to be all playing regularly. There'll be better harmony. There'll be better, So if I look around the team, literally in every position now, there's 2 players for every position, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. But there's always injuries, isn't there?
There's always injuries.
There's always injuries. And you know that Marino's out for two months, possibly more, because there's you're going to get that statement from Mikel halfway through it, update on he's had a setback, you know what I mean, because it's part of the thing, as Tommy Asu we're hearing now has had a setback, So I look at it and I just think there's extra games. There's extra 4 games, 2 travelling away, and then they're games, Robbie. You can't be resting players. You've got to have a good, strong squad and bring in players.
But if you've got 2 players in every position that and I think in most positions, we can say that the backup players coming in are nearly as good, if not as good, as the players they'd replace, right? In most positions, not all of them, in most positions, that's a pretty good squad.
Yeah, it is. I'm not slagging. That's one of the reasons that I'm not slagging off the transfer window. If I'd be really honest about the transfer window, I think Edu's alluded to it as well. Like the 2 main players they couldn't get, and that was Nico Williams and Sesko. They were the 2 they weren't. They didn't want to come, Robbie. That was the thing.
Sesko would have been a backup, and he wouldn't have started.
That's what they want. Yeah,
he wasn't going to be the main striker, was he?
I think in Arteta's eyes, the main striker is a Havertz, and they wanted a backup, something different for that.
And I think Nico Williams would have started. I think he would have started.
Maybe. But at the end of the day, they spoke to him because they could do. and he said he didn't want to leave Spain. So it doesn't
and
matter
he didn't
what,
leave Spain, despite the fact that Barcelona
He
made
did-
him their number one priority
Didn't wanna
signing. He
leave.
didn't leave. So people got to be a little
bit more
realistic. It's not. That's what I try to do, right? I don't know. I guess maybe because I do the transfer daily thing every day, so I start to have a more realistic look on it, because you get linked with a million players, right? But not all of those players you're being linked with are realistic.
No, you wouldn't want it from our club neither, would you? Like, you know what I mean? Like if someone comes in just says, "Oh, all right," say like, you know, Saliba's worth 100 million. Like, "Oh, we'll give you 75 for him," and "Oh yeah, we'll sell him." You know what I mean? It works the other way around. You know.
Yeah.
You know. I think Sporting Lisbon have got every right not to. You know, you sign that contract to say with that release clause of 100 million. Well, that's what we want.
Yeah.
If you pay it, fair enough. But if you was to, as a Sporting fan, you say like, right, oh well, we let him go, our best striker for 80 million. You wouldn't be happy about it, like.
And Sporting are in the Champions League, so they want to have a good fist of it.
It's just the same both ways, you know. So look, we tried to get those players, but what we done was we and I thought it was a fascinating thing what Edu turned around and said, like, you know, that Sterling wasn't on the radar at the beginning of the transfer window.
No, it wasn't.
But at the end of it, they thought, you know, I'll tell you what, we can get somebody.
Well, they do always say, innit? You always hear them saying things like, "We're on the lookout."
Yeah.
We're on the lookout if something comes up. So when some people have been saying to me, "Oh, well, you weren't planning," I said, "Yo, if you listen to these guys, literally every press conference, Mikel Arteta's in, he's like, we're on the lookout. We've still got our eyes peeled. We're still looking." So
was Trossard?
Trossard wasn't on the...
It wasn't. He was the second, you know, like the backup, if you want. And look how successful that's been. So now you look at it now, and I think that Sterling will be. With Sterling, like if you are going to leave Saka out for a few games, like for instance, you could leave Saka out against Atalanta, like, you know, and play Sterling. You ain't going to, the drop off isn't going to be significant. Of course, there's going to be a drop because Saka's, you know, one of the best players in the world. You know, like you can leave Odegaard out. If you leave Odegaard out, who's ever coming in, there's going to be a drop off, Rob. You know what I mean? It's, you know, that's how it is. But you can do that. You know, you can go with like a team at Tottenham, really, with. And maybe they'll do this, like, you know, of say Martinelli, Havertz and Saka, and then in the next game at Atlanta, in comes Trossard, in comes Jesus, in comes Sterling. Yeah. And then, you know, the three of them have got a nice rest.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. When you look at it like that, it's not bad. And then the three of them are all nicely and fresh for Man City. Yeah. So that's what you got to do. We can't do that in midfield at the moment because Mourinho's
Whereas Man City, by the way, don't get me wrong, that guy Haaland at the moment, he's like looking like an absolute beast. He's playing brilliantly. But if he gets injured, they haven't actually bought in... They sold Julian Alvarez and they haven't actually bought in another striker. So they can rest him, but they haven't got another striker to bring in.
No, they'll rest him in certain games. Of course they will. You know what I mean? Like, and there'll be, you know, what you have to admire about Manchester City is that they're always bringing in young players as well. Like there's a thing of you now. Again, as you said earlier on, before we come on here, Mikel gets slagged off for that. Like, you know what I mean, not bringing players through. Like, oh, Pep brings players through as well. Like, you know what I mean? Well, we've got the opportunity now to bring a couple of youngsters through. Wanyeri, for instance, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we'll get opportunities now. And they have to take those. And
someone said to me the other day, they go, "Oh yeah, we're relying on a kid now in that position." I said, "Well, last season there was like articles of people slagging off Mikel Arteta saying he don't give the youngsters a chance. Now he's giving him a chance, you know. So sometimes, you know, we can sit here and we can moan eternally. We all want a squad of like 3 players in each position. If you know, but that's not feasible.
No, it isn't.
And you know, I noted that I even saw Pep Guardiola saying that he doesn't like to work with big squads because what he said is, and I was just reading what he said. He said, when your squad's too big, he goes, you got players that they ain't playing. They're not going to get no game time unless we got an injury crisis. So he goes, then you have those players there. They're just unhappy all the time. They're unhappy for the whole season. He goes, you rather work with a smaller squad where those players are playing. So like how you just described it there, I think if you're Jesus, if you're Martinelli, if you're Trossard, even though Trossard was, and look how he was moaning, that was only the second game in. and he came on, he hadn't started in the second game. And you saw how he wasn't even celebrating when he scored and stuff like that, right? But when you've only got a couple, you can rotate it around, innit? You can say, right, you ain't playing here, but you're going to play there. You know what I mean?
And that's the good side of it from a player's point of view is that, you know, I'd imagine that they all want to play against Tottenham. But if you're not playing against Tottenham, what's the next best thing? Champions League on a Thursday night in Italy, like you're playing in that game. Or you might not be playing in the Champions League game, but you're playing Man City away, you know. So,
or you might be tired in that game. So you're after that Man City game, like you said. So let's get a fresh Sterling in for City, or let's rest Saka in that. You know what I mean? So
that's
not a terrible squad. It's a pretty good squad. I mean, listen, what I think the key position is that striker, where I think everybody would have loved to have seen a world-class striker come in, me included. But who? A person
I'll argue on this. I'll argue on this about the world-class striker. You bring in the world-class striker, who are you leaving out? You're going to leave
Havertz, isn't it?
Really? You know what I mean? Like,
it would be, innit?
Check his record out from January.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good. But if you've got a Haaland-esque striker,
there ain't a Haaland-esque.
But that's the thing. That striker ain't there.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's my point. When me and Turkish was arguing about it, and he's going, that striker is there. It's Isak. I'm like, you can't get him, so he's not there.
I watched Isak against Tottenham. He done nothing. I know he scored. It was a tap-in. Yeah, but so's Havertz. Havertz scored 2 goals. Yeah. 2 home games.
But he ain't available.
No.
Just like the point you made. If Newcastle came to us tomorrow and they said, "Here's 200 million." For Saliba, he ain't available.
Well,
they're going to turn around to him and say, sorry, we don't care you got 200 million, we're not selling him.
Do you think people have inquired about Saliba? I bet they have.
I think...
And they've just been told, no, he's not for sale.
I think, you know what happens, and that's the other thing, is like, a lot of fans will be like, well, just make an inquiry, There's no point if a guy, you just embarrass yourself.
Yeah, he's not for sale.
If you, that's a great point you make, because look how good Saliba is. Not one team made an inquiry about him, because it's obvious behind the scenes they probably asked about it and they realised that there's no chance.
No chance.
So no one's made an inquiry about Saka because they probably realised that there's absolutely no chance. So what's the point? Why waste your time? So when I hear a lot of Arsenal fans saying that as well, just make an inquiry. People, please. We have to be real sometimes.
Yeah.
I want the best players at Arsenal, but like we just said, who is that Haaland-esque striker who moves that dial way more than what it is?
That is the thing. And like you could turn around and say, like Bruno Guimaraes, he was available, right?
£100 million release clause.
But he stayed. You might have actually gone, look, we're prepared to play that 100 million, but he might have turned around and said, no, I'm happy in Newcastle. You don't know. There's a lot of things.
And during the transfer window, it's not like during the season where you can't tap up a player. During the transfer window, you can make those inquiries. Would you come?
Of course I do.
Would you come? If we met that release clause, would you come? Right, so that's what went on with Nico Williams.
Yeah.
With Nico, because it weren't a massive release clause. It was like just under 50 million quid. So it's like...
Stephen Menzies at Rio Sociedad, Liverpool asked.
Liverpool are there. The guy said, I ain't going. What are you going to do? You're going to kidnap him in Zubimendi, put him on he ain't going.
And I'll tell you what was a little bit... People started laughing at Liverpool for that. Like, you couldn't get him. Well, I don't see why you're laughing.
That's because they were laughing at us. I think that's because the Liverpool fans were saying that they were convinced he was coming.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you try. Arsenal tried to sign him.
Yeah. But look how embarrassing that was. So that's why you'll have clubs sometimes like with Nico Williams. They'll make that inquiry. If Nico Williams' representatives turn around and say, listen, we've spoken to Nico, he ain't going. So he's not going nowhere. He wants to play in Europe with Athletic Bilbao this year. Maybe next season, but this season, no chance. What is the point then in going and putting a bid? You may even hinder your chances of getting him in the future, because it might be like, but didn't we tell you? We told you already he ain't for, now you're putting him, or you're trying to destabilise him. When he is available next year, we ain't going there.
I'd imagine there's all cloak and dagger stuff that goes on and things like that, like agents talking and all that, and at the end of the day, there might be a conversation that you can't get him this year, but come back next year. Sesko, for
I'm
instance,
sure those
like,
conversations have gone on.
those conversations have gone on, like, and I do think that whether you like it or whether you don't like it, that Mikel was basically in the market for a backup striker, not one that was going to start week in, week out. Might develop and be the main one.
I think you could be right.
But that's where I look at it, like, you know. And you know, don't forget, next season they've got to make significant money available for midfield.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about the striker.
That's the other thing as well. When you're planning your transfer window,
you've got to
have to plan ahead, because you know you've got to leave a bit of money back now, say for January. I believe that's why there's some clubs like City, for instance, where they haven't gone in for a striker, because Pep said, if it ain't work, you know, then maybe I'll look at it again in January. And I think it's a similar thing with Arsenal. Maybe they might look at the market in January if things ain't working, you know, because you do have January. I mean, that's not...
Exactly.
You know, we are now in, you know, September.
It's only a few months.
A couple of months. We're in. You know, it's risky. It's a risky thing to do, but you do have the chance to go again in January. The
other thing is you know, like for instance, Sesko. I'm just going to pick on him because that's the one that we went for. Like, you know, they might have a bad time in the next few months. I don't know, and they could go, do you know what? We do the deal now instead of next.
Yeah, we do the deal in January, or
instead of you know, that happens.
Yeah.
So I you know, at the end of the day, I people lose their heads over transfer window and everything like that. If it comes down to it, and people, listen, we could lose the Spurs and lose the Man City. Title's gone, all right. But we could, you know, and people will come back and go, that's because we didn't buy players. But this is the way. That's the way of the world. You know, we could have bought those players and still lose those 2 games.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean to say that you are a genius when you with the transfer window. The window, people going, oh, sack Edu. You know what I mean? Like, have you seen what team? You know, look at the back four that he's built. Not just him, but you know, like look at the players we've got him up front now. Look at the wide players we've got. Look at the players and all that. I think that it is a bit of an overreaction from what it is.
It's ridiculous.
You know what I mean? Like, but I get. You know, I'm in a boat. Is that maybe we could have got 1 or 2 more.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I think, as I said, I would have loved to have seen a striker come in. Another striker I would have loved to have seen come in, but. You know, you just have to say, right, they have kind of got 2 players in every position. They've gone with Mikel Arteta wants to work with a smaller squad, just like Arteta likes to work with a smaller squad. Liverpool have not brought in loads and loads of players. All of a sudden, you hear a lot of, and this is how it works as well, right? Just to your point, like 2 weeks ago, everybody's slagging Liverpool off about how they've hardly made any signings, how they're going to challenge, blah, blah, blah. Now, all of a sudden, they're saying, oh, this guy Arne Slot, what a genius. He's come in, he's realised that not much needs to change. You don't need to tinker with it a lot because, you know what I mean, they're right. And to be fair to Liverpool, remember last year, Liverpool were going for the title. It was only like the last 5 games when they dropped off, they lost a couple, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
100%.
Now they're saying, oh, Arne Slot, what a genius.
People forget about that.
Yeah, exactly. People completely forget, like, Liverpool finished like about 50 points off. You know what I mean? They were at one stage.
They lost the league the same day as us.
Yeah, they were the favourites for the title. They had the easiest running and they fell off, right? Now, as I said, they're saying, oh, genius. Come in, seen that, you know, don't need a lot of changing. He's moved Gravenberch into midfield, right? And, yeah, it's a genius. But then if he loses a couple of games now, why did he go
and buy it? It's exactly that. The one thing that, you know, like, there could be, you know, this is where I think Mikel's got to come in to, you know, prove of things, like, you know, because he's got players that can play in different. For me now, that number 8 role, Shinchenko, put him in there. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah,
see what he can do now. Like, you know, we've got enough left backs.
Does it for his country.
Does it for his country. Can he do it for Arsenal? Maybe not against Spurs. Maybe
I was going to say, would you put him in there in a Tottenham game?
I probably wouldn't. I'd probably go with Jorginho and Partey, but that ain't got a lot of legs in there. So, but if you want to go there, why not? Why not? He played really well at Tottenham a couple of seasons ago. Put him in there, and then. But if not, I'd like to see him play there against Atlanta, like, you know, and see what he can do. But I think it's time now.
Yeah, I think it's time for that experiment, because it's not even a big experiment. Because, like you said, he'll be playing for his country. probably in this international break, and that's where he plays, and he plays it very well as well.
Yeah,
and he's a very, we've seen him, he's a very creative player. Probably takes a little bit of the pressure off him with like losing the ball.
Yeah.
But he's a very, very creative player.
I think it's time now. You're stocked with left backs, even like Tierney's in the squad now. Like, you know what I mean?
They couldn't sell Tierney.
So he's back in his training and should be available. And listen, Tierney's a left-sided player that can play central defence, left back. So that you're stocked in that. So put him in there now just to see what he can do. Like, you know what I mean? I know it's a big game against Spurs.
Does it worry you, that game?
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does, because it's Spurs, you know what I mean? Like, I think, that what worries me more than anything is we can't afford to drop points here. You know what I mean? Like, if we'd have beaten...
nor can they, though. It's a bit of pressure on... That game, I mean, obviously we're going to go into more detail in it next week, but there's a lot of pressure on them as well, because you think about it, right? They lost to Newcastle. They drew 1-1 with Leicester.
Great,
I mean, listen, I know it's the North London derby, so they're going to be up for it, I'm not saying, but they're also under pressure. They lost last year to us there. They're under pressure. They're going to be a lot of nerves on those Spurs players.
I know a few Spurs fans, and I've got family in there and all that. They're a little bit, what's the word? They're not as in love with, shall I say, they're not as much as in love with Ange as they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't forget, they had a poor run at the back end of last season.
Yeah.
If Arsenal were to go there and beat them, then they probably didn't get, I think they got Brentford next game. If they didn't get something there, and then they got Man United away, and if they was to lose that one, I think he'd be under tremendous pressure.
Yeah.
Tremendous pressure. So, look, we got to go there and look, listen, if Arsenal play to their ability, they win the game. That's the great thing about Arsenal at this moment in time. A few years ago, Tottenham were the better team, and it was tough for us there. But we know if we go there and we play at our best, we beat them. But that midfield is going to be... listen, Basuma and Sarah is a decent, and Madison, it's decent, but it ain't top quality in my bottom. You know what I mean?
Is our quality going to drop a significant amount without Declan Rice?
Yeah, of course. You know what I mean?
Has Declan Rice even really? He's been getting a little stick this week online, and I mean, a lot of people saying he's not even been very good anyway since he's come back.
Listen, he hasn't been at his best. It's not nowhere near. Like, listen, if Declan Rice had signed this season for 100 million, I think there'd be a lot of pressure on him at this moment in time, because he's not at the heights. The reason is he's not 100% fit. I do believe he's had 2 bookings now for tackles where he's not quite at it, where he's not quite fit enough. Like the Euros and all that. Like, this is the thing about Pep. I don't think Declan Rice should have started that first game of the season. I think he should have been rested. You know what I mean? Again, when you look at it, can we beat Wolves without Declan Rice? We should be able to with the squad, but this is the problem. Oh no, we've got to play. Saka.
But Marino hadn't come in yet, had he?
Well, get him in. That's the thing. That's when people go on about the transfer window. I look at it and I know, that's how it was. But the likes of Saka, Declan Rice played in that game. None of the players played for Manchester City that were in that tournament played. They was rested. You know what I mean? So they're all been there. So I don't think that Declan's quite been at it. But in saying that, I thought he was outstanding in the last 20 minutes against Aston Villa. But again, he wasn't quite at it on Saturday. So the rest are doing good. Oh no, he's back in the England squad now. And listen, I'm telling you, Declan Rice now has got a difficult game coming up Saturday, because it's against the Republic of Ireland. People look at me and go, "Oh, Republic of Ireland."
He's going to get a lot of stick in that game.
He's going to get a lot of stick in that game. Don't forget, he's played three times for them in friendlies. You know what I mean? So him and Jack Grealish, if they are playing in that game, it's not going to be an easy game for them.
A lot of grief coming.
They've got a lot of grief coming their way.
Yeah.
So maybe it ain't a bad thing him not playing against Spurs, and then he's going to be at it for the next couple of games. You know what I mean?
To your point, he'd be fully rested for City, but yeah, I mean, that's a big blow, him being out of that North London derby, and he's the sort of guy who excels in games as well. So that's a big.
He's going to come good. He's not quite. Yeah. He wasn't quite fit. Do you remember when we went to America? He come on in a couple of games there, and we were saying, well, he's not quite fit and all that, and then he got himself up to. Once he gets up to his
the thing is about, like you said, Lee. I mean, there's the Euro. him and Saka played every single game
minute
of the Euros. Every game, every minute.
Well, Declan Rice played every single minute, didn't he?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know,
Declan
Saka
Rice
come off
every
once.
minute of every game.
Yeah.
Even in the friendlies, he played every minute. You know what I mean? So maybe him not playing, like you said, in the next game gives him a little.
You wouldn't want to
chance
rest him against Tottenham.
Although he's still away, innit? He's still away with England.
Yeah, I mean, so I you know, ideally, you know, you have him and Partey there, especially with Mourinho out. You know, you're thinking like, oh well, if listen, if Mourinho's fit, there's not a problem. But there is with both you. And let's be really honest. If you was to say, right, cup final now, Mourinho and Declan Rice would start. You know what I mean? So we've got our best two midfield players not playing against Tottenham. Like, so it's going to be a tough.
Would you Adrian Rabiot's out there still as a free agent? Would you go out there and maybe?
Yeah, I would. 100%. I think we're one short in midfield. That's my thing of it. You know.
Although I did read a thing where why he hasn't signed for a lot of clubs is that he's like, as part of his deal, wants some guarantees around playing time. So he wants to play on a regular basis, which mean that would make that difficult because as soon as Mourinho does come back, or comes back, he probably wouldn't play. You couldn't guarantee him that, could you?
Well, you wouldn't, but you got 2 months to make yourself guaranteed, didn't you? You know.
If you can't loan him, you've got to buy him, innit? I mean, you can't really sign him on a contract.
No, you buy him, put him on a year's contract, 2-year contract. But at the end of the day, and you know, look, you're going to get games. You know, at this level, you're going to get games.
No one's got him. You know,
well, maybe like wages and whatever, like, you know.
Well, yeah,
so,
he is demanding some high wages.
So at the end of the day, this is where Arteta comes in now. If you got, you know, it might be Timber comes into that midfield role.
That's a shout. He's done it before.
It may be Shinchenko goes in there. You might take the biggest gamble of your managerial career and put Wanyeri in there, and he becomes the superstar. I don't know. This is the thing. What I will, as I said about Spurs, have got a decent midfield, but it's nothing where you go, oh, I'm exactly frightened of that midfield. It's a good midfield, but at the end of the day, you know, the Spurs are Spurs. Let's be honest, you know what I mean? You know, it's like what Forrest Gump said, you know, with a box of chocolate, you don't know what you're going to get with him, like, you know, and you don't. You don't know what you're going to get with Spurs, you know what I mean? Like, you know, all I hope is that they play the high line, you know what I mean? So
I think we know they're going to play the high line.
So there you go.
They are going to play that high. There's a shout for me, put Sterling in that game, yeah, from the start. Oh, bless him.
Yeah, in place of who?
Martinelli.
Martinelli didn't play last game, so Trossard who had a poor game.
Instead of Trossard, yeah. I felt sorry for Trossard in that game. And you know what? Because he would have had the unbelievable assist if Saka had put that. Odegaard. That cross he put in
was great. Was
brilliant. I mean, we don't. He
was offside though.
We don't see enough of those. Was he offside?
Yeah, Trossard. I reckon Trossard.
Nah, when I looked at him, I don't think he'd have been on.
Do you reckon?
But it's a brilliant cross. But shout out for Sterling from the start.
No, not for me. Sterling plays against Atalanta. My front three, Martinelli.
I just got a feeling, man.
It could actually.
It would be. I don't know, man. I just get the feeling Spurs defenders wouldn't fancy him. Him on one wing,
Saka
on the other. They're like, it's that unexpected as well, isn't it? Like, what's he gonna
pace? You got to have
pace.
It's either Martinelli
and a player that drives a.
It's either Martinelli or him. And you might think, well, why Trossard? Because at Trossard Tottenham will play that high line, so you need that pace to get in behind them. So it'd be one or the other.
I wouldn't mind a little.
He's got
unknown
so
thing
much to
sometimes.
prove. He's got so much to prove.
I like that unknown. You know, sometimes that unknown. You know what I mean? You can sit up against a team. You're gonna, where's he gonna what are they gonna do with him? What? You know what I mean?
Is that right? They wore 30 as well, so that because it's 30% of the wages. Is that right? Like
that's a rumour.
It's a rumour. If we call it, if they did do that.
But yeah, did you see when he come in? Like, I've never seen someone like sort of as bullish as that when he come in.
I like what he said.
He goes, people like to talk. That was a dig straight away. I thought.
Yeah, I liked what he said.
That's a dig. I think at the England setup and Chelsea.
He said, you know, what
put himself under pressure to deliver.
He's been very close to signing for Arsenal. We know this from when he was at QPR as a kid. It was either Liverpool or Arsenal, but Liverpool come up with the money. You know what I mean? Arsenal didn't. But we know that was very, very close because we've spoken to someone that was part of that deal. So there's always been a little thing of coming to Arsenal, and because people think like, because he was started off at Liverpool, and that but he is a London lad. You know what I mean? Like at QPR and that
from Wembley.
So I like what he said about the Arsenal. Like, big club, big history, big everything. Like said the right things.
Yeah.
So let's hope.
I think he's under pressure to deliver. I think you've got a guy who's driven. I wouldn't mind starting him in that game. I mean, we'll get into that.
Yeah, next week.
We'll get fully stuck into that next week. You know what? Julian's not here today, right? And we did an interview with Ian Stone, the comedian.
Oh yeah, he knows him. Doesn't he?
Yeah. So that's going to be coming out. I'm not sure the date it's coming out, but look out for it when it comes out. He's so funny, as he's a comedian, isn't he? So he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Absolute crazy Arsenal fan, you know what I mean? So that's coming out on the A-list. But Ian Stone was telling me that he played in the Maccabi League.
No,
right? Which is the same league that Julian played in. So I asked him, I go, any recollections of Julian playing?
What, the best player?
He goes, never heard of him, never seen him play in the league or nothing. Right? So I was going, what, are you sure? Because he told us he was going, I don't never remember seeing him play ever.
There you go. We see his manager the other week that wouldn't put him on.
Put him in the C team and that.
The C team, you know what I mean? Like,
he's got a lot of questions to answer when he gets back here.
When he gets back.
I was just waiting, you know what I mean? But as I said, you'll see that interview.
And he knows Ian Stone.
Yeah.
So it's not like that, he obviously hasn't known him for his
Ian Stone said to me he does never remember seeing him in the Maccabi League.
If you was a top player in the Maccabi League, you'd be remembered.
You'd be
remembered, exactly.
Yeah.
There's
no recollection.
We wouldn't probably been bald at that time, but this little magician, this Santi Cazorla lookalike, that's what he thinks he is. I think people would have remembered him, like, you know what I mean? He's got a left foot and right foot. He actually thinks he is Santi, like, you know what I mean? Like, but people would remember him. But there they are. They're not playing him in the B team. As unused sub in the B team, should I say? Like,
C team, remember?
And he was a C team. He was not regular, apparently. Like, So there you go.
Anyway, we've got some investigating and digging to do on that. You know what I mean? Maybe, when we're talking here about squads, he definitely don't look like he was in that squad, and he's been spinning us a yarn. But we'll get to the bottom of it. Don't worry. But listen, we're coming to the end of the show right now. I want to give NordVPN another shout out. Don't forget, you can get that special plan and that discount. All you got to do is click the link in the description right now, scan the QR codes. NordVPN's 4-month plan. It's a really good thing to have, especially when you're on your travels, and it does protect you a lot. And there's a lot of dodgy people around nowadays, so it's a great thing to have. Next week, when we come back, I think we're going to take a deep dive into the North London Derby. First one of the year. First one, normally a lot of them always played. We seem to always play
at Emirates first, haven't we?
Yeah, but this one's been played at their gaff first, and we're looking forward to it. But this week, were you up to the weekend watching England?
Yeah, have a little watch of England. Big shout out to the Arsenal women because they won last night against
6-0.
Rangers. So they play Saturday night now at 7:30 against Rosenborg, I think. So to get to the Champions League. So from the women's side, we need to do that and get through to that. Got a big squad, so I'll have a little look at that. I don't mind watching the women because I haven't got the same. You don't feel the same pressure. No, there's not a pressure. You know what I mean, like of watching the Arsenal win. But I enjoy that, so I'll have a little watch of that and watch the Republic of Ireland versus Declan Rice and Grealish. You know what I mean? So see what happens. Like, All right, and hopefully no injuries to Grealish, right? So or Saka. Please. Rice. Don't worry about Grealish. He didn't get injured. No. Didn't I say Rice? Yeah, Did I say Grealish? Yeah, you said Grealish. Rice. I wish no injury on any player, but Rice in particular. No, I like Jack Grealish. I don't mind Jack Grealish. Out of all the Man City players, he's one of them that I like, Yeah, I like. Bearing in mind, I can't, go and get those. I can't have this Oasis lot. Can't be going and watching him. I cannot. I thought he was an Oasis fan. I loved Oasis back in the day, but now my hatred for Manchester City is like, more than that. Like, I can't stand them. Like, if Noel Gallagher rung you up with free tickets, VIP. No. I can't stand them. I can't.
But you like the music.
I love the music. I love, it's probably the best album ever. Like, you know what I mean? But
It's the best album ever, but you still wouldn't go
no, because of their Manchester City love. I can't stand them like now. Like.
You're a legend, man. I'll tell you, this guy's a legend, man. Firstly, Harry Kane not celebrating. Now he loves Oasis.
Blur all day long.
Loves-
No, I've got. I honestly, like, you know what I mean. Oasis were, I went to see them at Nebworth for the brilliant, absolutely brilliant Manchester and all that, like, but now because and I've been really, I know it's bad because Manchester City back in the day when Oasis were, Manchester City were, you 6 Point City, weren't they? They were called, like, you know what I mean, weren't bothered. But now, like, they've become this team, and I don't like Man City no more. So, like, they're Oasis. They can go, no chance. I wouldn't. But people are queuing up. My mate was at the game, James, big up James. He's in the queue, like, waiting for his. I said, turn it off, those horrible, get rid of them, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, press that off button. Don't lower yourself. Don't lower yourself.
Don't change, man. Don't change. That's why I love this guy, man. Right. So listen, we've reached the end of the show today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe here to AFTV, and don't forget you can download this on a podcast as well on all your normal platforms. Thanks for watching. Back next week. Julian's back. We've got some questions to ask him about the Maccabi League, and of course, we'll be looking forward to the North London derby. The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.